Hello and welcome to Rotherham Real Talks, the local podcast telling the stories of Rotherham's people. And today's guest, we have Reverend Canon Phil on, who is the Vicar of Rotherham. Hi, Phil. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Thanks for having me on.
No problem at all. Yeah, thank you for popping on and telling us all about the minister and what's coming up. So do you want to just dive in and introduce yourself? Let us everybody know how long you've been the Vicar of Rotherham. A little bit about the history of the Minster, etc., and yeah, and then we'll go into more details later on.
Cool, thank you. So as you correctly said, I'm Reverend Canon Phil Batchford, and Vicar of Rotherham Minster. But because the Minster is Rotherham's original parish church, so the first one, I'm also called the Vicar of Rotherham. I came just under 8 years ago, but I wasn't the vicar then. So they appointed me to be a pioneer community vicar to work alongside the then vicar with doing kind of community outreach and engagement and trying to help the church increasingly engage with the town. But for very genuine reasons, the vicar, I don't think it was because he'd appointed me, then announced he was retiring.
Right.
So he left. So he was called Canon David Bliss. So he went into retirement. So I worked here for about 18 months while we didn't have a vicar. And during that time, had fallen in love with the town and really sensed God's call to actually stay. So when they advertised for the vicar post, I threw my hat in the ring and they appointed me. And I've been vicar now for just over 6 years.
Brilliant.
So the Minster is the original parish church, but it's not actually the original parish church building. So the site's been a site of Christian worship for over 1,000 years. But this is actually the third building, the one that's kind of behind my head.
Right.
Originally, there was a Saxon stone church that's recorded in the Domesday Book. The Normans knocked that down so that they could put their footprint on the place and they built their own church. And then, a bit like McDonald's, they went large and they knocked most of the Norman church down, but just went extended it in every possible direction. So the current building is the same sort of layout as the Norman church, it's just a lot bigger. And
Right.
this one's about, I don't know, but it depends on which bit you're in, but it's between 500 and 600 years old.
Oh wow, so there's plenty of history there.
Oh yeah, it took them about 130 years to actually build it. So whoever
Wow.
started never saw the end.
That's
So that's what I mean by whichever bit you're in, it's either 500 or 600 years old.
wow. Yeah, I've not been into the minister for years. So yeah, I'm very interested in coming and having a quick look around at some point. So yeah, I'm sure we can arrange that and definitely yeah more about this abseil later on that you've got going on.
But
So
I am encouraged. So you have been in the Minster before?
yes, a few years ago.
Because I still meet people that were born and bred in Rotherham that tell me that they've never been in. Slowly we're getting that number down, but hey ho, the wind and the rain.
No, everyone knows where it is, and it's a very iconic building in town. And yeah, it's lovely on the nice days out on the green and around the boundaries of the minister. Yeah, it's definitely yeah, you can't miss it, can you? So it's just stepping through that door. That's all they need to do and go have a look around.
Well,
Um,
actually, it's really interesting that you say that you can't miss it because even in the council's own planning department, the lines of sight to the Minster from across the town are a consideration when they're giving planning permission. So actually, the building is so iconic that even the council's current planning permission don't want to obliterate the view of it as you come in from different angles across the town. So
yeah,
yeah, it's all part of a piece.
which makes massive sense because it's yeah. Why would you not want to? You don't want to block that view for everybody. So how has the minister evolved over this time, and what's the like main function for the Rotherham community?
So
Have you
it
been
might it
there?
might be helpful just to say we became a Minster in 2004.
Right.
So the title Minster is like an honorary title. It's a bit like an OBE for the actual church and the church building, and you get that if two or three factors all come into play. So one is that the building is historically significant, and so ours is. It's
Yep.
one of the most historically significant church buildings in the north of England. You also get it if it's in a prominent location, like a town centre. So we
Yep.
tick that next to. And it's also you get that honorary title if the town itself affords the church kind of an elevated status. So we're still a parish church, but we're also the civic church for the town, and people look upon it because it's the closest thing Rotherham's got to a cathedral. So because the people of the town afford the church that kind of status, the Church of England made us a minster in 2004. So that just gives you a bit of the background, but that's where the kind of role that the church plays in the town is it supports the life of the council. So actually last weekend, actually on Saturday, we hosted the civic service for the new mayor of Rotherham. So we had all the council and dignitaries from across the region as we celebrated the new mayor's term of office beginning. And that was a whole interfaith joyous occasion because our new mayor's a Muslim woman and the first Muslim woman we've ever had. But it was just great to host her and part of her faith community and all the kind of civic leaders. So that's all part of what we do. And we support things like Remembrance Sunday, which now happens in Clifton Park rather than in the Minster, but we're still involved in all of that.
Okay.
And then for the last few years, we've developed a lot of kind of community engagement and development work. So we run a social supermarket, which supports kind of 40 vulnerable households a week with food provision and other sorts of support. We run men's groups and craft groups and community choirs. So there's a huge amount of community development and engagement work that's grown over the last few years. And the other thing that's grown and developed over the last few years, and it's all because we've got external funding from the Central Church of England, is we do music workshops in local primary schools. And then every term, kind of well over 100 primary school children will come into the Minster and do a concert for their parents and carers and teachers and all the rest. And on the back of that, we've launched the children's section of the Minster Choir. So actually we now have choristers singing with our adult choir members. So we were really blessed in 2019. We got a chunk of external funding from the Church of England. I've been able to employ more staff team members with specialist skills, and then have been able to get all that kind of music and community engagement work off the ground.
And that's great that they can get the younger ones involved as well.
Oh, it's fab. When you come in and it's those end of term concerts, it's just a riot of joy. It's fabulous.
Yeah, perfect. So shall we jump into what inspired the building Hope in the Heart of Rotherham Appeal and where that came about?
Was that deliberate that you said jump in? I like that.
Yeah, maybe.
So it's all part of kind of what I've just talked about. So we've managed to grow all sorts of things over the last few years, including growing the actual congregation and the worshipping community that's part of the church. We've hosted some really big town-wide events. So I don't know whether you saw it, but we had a huge model of the moon suspended in the church building and got about 10,000 people through the building in just over a week. And we've currently got a big art installation hanging from the ceiling, which has been done by a female Hindu artist called Flowers of the Earth, which is just really impressive and beautiful. So people come in to see that. So with all that's been going on, the building's got busier and busier and busier. But we have 2 toilets. We're not as accessible internally as we would like to be. We're not as flexible internally as we would like to be. So in order to keep the growth and the momentum and to play our part in the kind of regeneration of the town centre, because the Minster as a building can contribute to that, we've decided we want to redevelop the inside of the building, which literally includes taking the Victorian pews out, relaying the floor with a much more cost-effective underfloor heating system, building in smaller meeting rooms, refurbishing a historic organ, and completely transforming the accessibility across the whole space, as well as putting in all new visual and audio resources so that we can kind of host all sorts of different events, concerts, services, and allow people to access it. So in order to do that, there was a small fundraising challenge, and that's where we launched the Building Hope in the Heart of Rotherham Appeal to try and raise the funds to be able to transform the inside of the building.
Brilliant. So what's that target? What you trying to achieve?
So the last estimate was 3 million,
Wow.
but unfortunately the government's just changed the rules on VAT relief for buildings like ours. So previously we could claim the VAT back on sort of major redevelopment or repairs, and now they've restricted it to a maximum claim of £25,000. So actually that's in total £125,000 worth of work in any 1 year. So 125 grand's worth of work or £3.5 million worth of work. So actually the bill for the redevelopment has just gone up by £500,000 with that one simple rule change. And we're not even there yet, and things are always going up year on year anyway. So realistically, to do all that we're envisaging to redevelop the inside of the building, we're looking at somewhere between 3 and 4 million.
Wow. So there's lots of fundraising to do.
So feel free to look down the back of your sofa, and anybody else that's listening, they can look down the back of their sofa too.
Yeah.
I keep looking down the back of mine, but my wife's always got there before me somehow, so that's just the way it is.
Yes, I think my 6-year-old definitely found the pounds coins down the side of the sofa and under Dad's car seat. Falls out. He's the first one to grab any loose change. So that
Love it.
pulls in nicely into the Leap of Faith event that's coming up, which is obviously quite a daunting task for anyone who's going to get involved. But I say one that's going to help significantly, hopefully, towards those funds.
So we launched our Building Hope in the Heart of Rotherham Appeal last year. And I don't know whether you saw it, but the Bishop of Sheffield joined me, and in clerical robes, we did this abseil from inside the bell tower, which on the picture behind me is kind of in the room behind the clocks, or just below the clocks. And then you come through a hole in the floor down into the body of the church. So you've got about 4 foot of wall in the hole, and then it's just free abseiling all the way down to the floor. So we did it to launch the appeal last year, and 1 or 2 others joined us on the day, but it was just a few. So a year on, we're doing the same exercise, but we've invited people that want to actually have a go to do it and to fundraise on our behalf. So we're asking people to aim to raise a minimum of £250. The whole thing's online. It's on our website. You can register through Just Giving, so you can kind of register your name to support, and then you can come along on the day and you actually get to abseil out of the bell tower and down into the church, which means you will get a view, if you can open your eyes, of the inside of the Minster that basically nobody else will have really ever had.
Yes.
So most people have seen it from the ground, but very few people have actually seen it suspended like Spider-Man from the ceiling. So it's a real unique experience for somebody who's like me, daft enough to do it. And also it's a way of actually fundraising and helping towards a really good cause. Because I genuinely believe that what we're trying to do is enable that impressive building to not just resource the life of the church, though that's important, but to actually resource the life of the community and the whole town. And that's what all the fundraising and the redevelopment is for. So our strapline is, it's time for you to drop into Rotherham Minster, and then you could put in brackets, literally.
Yeah.
So 42 foot dangling from the ceiling, and all for a good cause.
And that's happening on the 7th of June, is that right?
It is. It's all happening on the 7th of June. We're going to have other things on the day. So there'll be stalls, and we're doing kind of lunches and afternoon teas, and our community choirs singing. So we're trying to make it a real celebratory event. It's also the day that Rotherham Pride's happening. So we've been trying to encourage some of the folks from Rotherham Pride to support us too. And unless I'm mistaken, there's even something called Comic-Con happening. So there could literally be somebody dressed up as Spider-Man, if they're up for it, supporting us and dangling from the ceiling. So it's going to be one of those days in the town centre when it will just be buzzing. And we're hoping that it'll be buzzing in the Minster too. But yeah, 7th of June, all welcome to come along, watch, cheer, and then support us by buying the stuff that's available on the day.
Brilliant. And we'll stick all the links and stuff in the show notes so people can get involved if they want to, and then hopefully we can get enough people signed up to dangle from the ceiling, as you'd put it.
So are you up for it then, Daryl?
Possibly. Well, yes. If you send me the information over,
you see, there's nothing.
There's
nothing like leading by.
I'll have a look at my calendar and see if we can make that. What time is it starting?
So once everybody's registered, in the next week or so, we'll be confirming all the timings for people. But the bulk of it will be between 10 and 3 on that day.
Right. Okay. I will see if I can.
I tried really hard live on air on Radio Sheffield a couple of weeks ago to get Paula Edwards to sign up, but she was like, no. So I thought I couldn't resist having a go and saying, Daryl, come on, you could lead by example and say, look at this, I've decided to join in.
I'm sure we can sort that out. I'll have a look at my calendar and see if I can move things around. But yes, I'll have a look at that.
Good man.
Not a problem. So how can?
Sorry, I'm just shameless.
No, well, why not? You don't get if you don't ask. How can other individuals and local businesses get involved into supporting the other activities you've got going on?
So if people wanted to sponsor us, that would be fine. We'd be welcome that. So we're constantly in need of kind of resources for our choristers, and we're looking to try and establish some musical choral scholarships. So if anybody was interested in contributing to that, which would give older young people the opportunity to learn and grow in their musical gifting. Our Rotherham Minster Connections team that run the social supermarket and all of our other kind of community engagement work. There's all sorts of ways that people could support that. Cash donations help us with buying food stuff that we don't get donated, but there's other resources that we try and make available to our members. And then if anybody just wants to support us individually, they can come along and volunteer. So we're always open to talking to people who might want to volunteer. So you can support with both time and also finance, but would certainly welcome any kind of sponsorship or support in that way.
Brilliant stuff. Yeah. So if there is any local businesses out there that want to get involved, we'll stick Phil's contact information into the show notes. If I'm sure you're happy for people to reach out and start a conversation, because that will definitely help.
Would more than welcome it.
Perfect. So what's your hopes for the future of the Minster, and what the things that you are putting in place now? How would you like it to grow, and what's the end goal? What's your vision?
So we've just had some really good news. So I talked about how we've been able to employ a bigger team because we got some central church funding. That was initially for 6 years, and it ran out at the end of last year. So we've been waiting slightly anxiously this year to see whether we were going to get any further extension of that, partly because COVID was a bit of a game changer during those 6 years. So
Yeah.
we've done really well. We've come a long way in a few years. But I think it's fair to say that there's still an awfully long way still to go, and that's always the case. But we heard a couple of months ago that the Church of England have extended our funding. So we've got another 3.5 years confirmed and further 3 years after that in principle. So as long as the wheels don't come off, we can keep going with what we're doing. I think in part for me, I want to continue to develop and grow what we've already got going, but I want to be able to open up the building so that people can really come and explore the heritage of it. I want to be able to do more events and concerts so that actually we're just contributing to that kind of cultural dimension of the life of the town. I'd be lying if I didn't say I wanted to see the church continue to grow and flourish. And it's sorts of things like building up a Friends of Rotherham Minster group and network so that we could do more heritage events and keep the building open and people able to come in. We're exploring ways of putting in some AV stuff that would allow people to explore the history of the building and all those sorts of creative ideas. And then to partner with others, because there's some cracking stuff happening now across Rotherham. So Grimm and Co. that are in the old Talbot Lane Methodist Church, Wentworth Woodhouse that are just kind of transforming that place and really kind of putting Rotherham on the map. Magna. So to actually partner with those big organisations that we could do kind of town-wide things where part A was in the Minster, part B was in Wentworth, part C was at Magna. So you're actually trying to draw people in and just really, really putting Rotherham back on the map. And for me, that's part of what this whole redevelopment is about, that we can actually be a partner within all of that.
Yeah, bringing the whole community together, which is the whole idea behind the church originally. So
Yeah.
getting everybody involved, which sounds brilliant. Have you got anything that I should have asked you that I've not covered? Do you think?
We've done pretty well in half an hour, I
It's
reckon.
not too bad. So, is there
Uh,
anything that you've got coming up that you might not have let on? Any behind the scenes or sneak previews?
no, I mean, I've
Sorry to
mentioned
put
the
you on the
art
spot.
installation that's already in, but that's going to come out at the end of next week. So if people haven't come down and seen that, it's certainly worth a look if you're in the town centre. We're
Yeah.
open. We're open pretty much every day apart from Fridays, so people can come and have a look around. To repeat, if they want to support by abseiling on the 7th of June, they're more than welcome, and you can just sign up online. But equally come along and support what we're doing on the day, because it'll be a spectacle like no other. We trust and hope. And to add, we've got a professional organisation that are doing it, that did it last time, so it's all safe and secure. But having done it 3 times, because I had to do it 3 times last year on the
Wow.
same day, it is a little bit scary. And when the bishop said he wanted me to go first, he only regretted that when he saw how horrified I looked as I leaned back over the hole. But it's all what you do for your art. And then just keep an eye on our website, and if people want to friend us on Facebook, then that way you find out all about the different things that are coming up over the next few months.
Yeah, again, I'll stick all the links for your social media and your website and stuff all into the show notes so everyone's got that information and be able to reach out for you. So yes, I think that wraps us up quite nicely. Thank you very much, Phil, for your time today. And then I look forward to seeing you dangling from the ceiling on the 7th. And then I
And I look
won't be
forward to
far
you
behind you.
joining me.
I'll be behind you.
Good man. Cheers, Daryl.
Thank you.